What is going on, good people? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Say That Podcast, where, as always, don't say this, say that. I want to give a special shout out to everyone who subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you haven't, please like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps our numbers get up. Especially follow us on Instagram, say_that_pod. We would really appreciate it. For today's episode, it can't be described more than I've been wanting this to happen for a long time. The man to my left is literally one of the nicest people you will ever meet. Literally, I wish I had this kid's energy when it came to a lot of shit. So, all the way back home from Charleston, South Carolina, DJ Pettiglio, a.k.a. the Microphone Madone. Brother, what's going on, man?
I'm speechless, man. It's a pleasure to be here. AOA Studios, Say That Podcast, in Beverly, Massachusetts.
The whole shebang.
And I have been looking forward to this moment for quite some time as well. So I'm really happy to be here.
And brother, we are really happy that you're on this show too. Quick shout out to Mike Sanchez. He's not here, but he's always here in spirit.
Shout
of
out,
course.
Mike.
Shout out to Mike Sanchez. But anyways, to get into it, this man, you're coming up on a year of your debut album, Reinventing the Wheel. And for someone who, I didn't even know you made music up until that point. But as it turns out, you did have a lot of musical background that kind of led you into making this album. So tell me how that comeback to music really inspired you to make this album.
Well, there was a few key factors for sure. Growing up, I was in a rock and reggae band called One Size Fits Most.
Oh, shit.
When I was a young teenager.
DJ, man, in the reggae, yeah.
You know what time it is, man. We had, I think it was a 5-piece, so we had a keyboard player too. And that was like the roots of me as a musician and an artist. Probably did 30 shows between the ages of 16 and 19. So I was playing a lot then. Guitarist by trade, also sang and wrote material there. And when I was 20 years old, I was really into rap and released some stuff on SoundCloud. I had this little Hercules turntable. It was $200 from Guitar Center. And I used to make beats with it and sample stuff. It never really amounted to a ton of songs. Occasionally I'd get some loops and kind of, take off a little bit. But, I always more had fun with it. And there was a few people that I could make music with in town, but it wasn't so I wasn't very focused on it. And
it's more like a hobby at that point.
Yeah, and I think I was still young trying to figure it out. There were some things that I felt confident to put up and other things that I didn't. And there's still an old TJ Pettiglio SoundCloud. So shout out to anybody that might actually
I gotta go that.
Dig this. Yeah, I know you will. So come time November 2021, I went to a show with Amir Max, who is a friend of mine. He was going to be performing that night. And I met two of my great friends as well, David Ryan and Jeff Porter, that night.
Real Smooth 108 World.
Real Smooth 108 World.
And full disclosure, they're behind the camera now, so if anything goes wrong, we're going to blame them.
So, having the opportunity to meet these guys and be around the three of them really inspired me to see what local hip hop was like in my community, because it was something that I had never really looked too hard for, but it was nothing that I really found. Growing up, I was in.
That's a good point.
Well, and it's ironic because growing up, I was in what's called plugged in teen band program. So it was a nonprofit organization in my hometown in Needham, Massachusetts, where I grew up most of my life. And, there was two people that ran it, and they had music teachers that would come in. And so twice a year there would be benefit shows for charities, and, everybody would get to perform in their band. Sometimes you get put with new people. Like I said, I was in a band called One Size Fits Most, so we did shows with them, and we did outside stuff too. But being in plugged in, they gave us that platform and that opportunity. Mm-hmm. So when I was 16 when I first started, and we'd practice in this garage in Needham that they rented the space for.
Classic how the band starts.
Yeah,
you know
twice
what I'm
a
saying?
week.
Next Metallica right there.
Absolutely, bro. We do covers. We would do like originals, and our drummer could play guitar and sing really well too. So that's where I kind of dabbled into percussion a little bit, like doing that. But a lot of that was the roots of how I became so passionate about music foundationally. But I think I steered us a little bit away from what
No,
we're
you
talking
good,
about.
brother. I love. Listen, I never got to hear your origin story, so hearing it right now is dead cool.
Yeah. So nonetheless, that fast forward again, I think it was because I was talking about like I didn't know the sense of hip hop community, but I always liked hip hop since I was 18.
Right.
And a big influence for that was this internship that I had in high school at New TV, which was like the Newton Local Cable Access Center. So I got to intern there, and my boss was the head of the government access channel for Newton's Local Cable. And so his brother was an underground artist between Brooklyn and Boston, and his name is Zeke Subtext Kreitzer. I think he just goes by Subtext now. Y'all would really mess with him. This guy has bars, crazy bars. Mm-hmm. And they're from Vermont originally, Middleborough, Vermont, I think. And
damn, we got Vermont rappers. That's
when I was 18, I got to see.
It's a new breed of rappers. You know what I'm
saying, bro? Like they're out there. And shout out Jarv. Jarv is from Vermont as well. Really big rapper. And so when I was 18, one night, it was like a weekend or something, and he said, "Hey, man, I don't know how kosher this is, like between, because I had the internship there through school, and he was like, dude, like, I was 18 years old. He was like, dude, come to the show with me tonight. My brother's performing. He's open for this guy, Jeru the Damager. And Jeru the Damager, I didn't really know who he was at the time, but come to find he was one of the biggest underground hip-hop artists in New York in the 90s and still is going, performs in overseas all the time. In France, they love him. Like, Jeru is one of the biggest reasons I do this because of that night. So that was really, really cool. And so fast forward, Lincoln with Amir Max, Jeff Porter, David Ryan, November of 21 we met. And by January of 2022, I had a plan to move to Charleston, South Carolina, but I was starting to get really intrigued by rapping and super influenced and inspired. So we went to the studio one night, and I think you remember that because it was myself, Jeff Porter, David Ryan, Trizzy was there. Our buddy Dan came through, and you came later in that night.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Old Juice Box.
Old Juice Box.
At the old Juice Box,
Chelsea.
too. That's what's up.
Chelsea, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chelsea, Mass.
Right. Yo, not to get off topic, but that Juice Box spot was the shit. I love how it literally was in the back. It's almost like a GTA scene in a way because you're just driving through all these like
bathroom was a separate door, but
what do you call it? Like storage facilities and stuff like that. It's like where the boxes come in and out and shit like that.
Oh hell yeah!
All of a sudden, that's where like art gets made, just right there.
Yeah, it's like the silver fruit. The silver fruit was over there.
The coolest clubhouse in the world. Yeah,
it's awesome. No, and it was that kind of spot, like the passion to create and sort of just like a small closed off older building like that in Massachusetts really like gave a lot of energy, and I could see the amount of like music that Jeff and David were like pumping out in there at the time. They were doing a lot with Young Yusuf, and so David texted me one night and he was like, hey man, like you really here's a great producer that I know about that I like, Batman. And he's like, just here's a couple, dude, just go do something, just go write, go murder some beats, do something. So I was like, damn, all right, that sounds like a good idea. So I remember like
that's a full court lob. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I was
right to him.
I had to dunk it. Like
right,
I was
exactly.
like, yeah. I was trying to become Steve
It's like
Francis.
that picture of D Wade and LeBron where they're throwing it up and he's like that, and you're behind it.
I'm honored that you feel that way. And shout out Repeat, by the way. He's very animated. And like being on this podcast, like I could not be more happy to be here. So,
like I said, I needed you on it,
buddy,
and I'm glad that
we needed each other. God,
exactly.
So,
two Marones, you know what I mean?
You know what time it is.
All right.
So, being in that space and being there that night was there was some magic in there. And I remember actually the first time the night that I was with you, I was just chilling that night. I think we were just blazing, like,
no, that's
hanging.
it. No, that's literally it.
Yep.
That's why I loved it, because you were just like, yo, come through.
We were like,
we gonna murder some beats and y'all can blaze it. I'm like, shit, I got nothing better to do tonight, so what the fuck not?
Hell yeah. And that's, and that's what really drove a lot of the passion, I think, was that night. And then coming back a week or two later, I had 2 songs ready. And maybe 3. I did 4. I did a whole EP there within 2 different sessions, I think. And, Yusuf was there, engineering all of it. And shout out young Yusuf, one of the first people to mix and master my music, and got it finished once I had moved to Charleston for me as well. And so that first EP before Reinventing the Wheel, I got out in March of 2022. Yeah.
Now, what was the track about the sub shop? Because that's my favorite one on the album.
Oh, East Bay. Yeah.
East Bay. Yeah. Spin around East Bay. Yeah. That's my favorite one.
I appreciate you.
Man.
Yeah. That song is special because it was the first song. And a lot of people might not know this, and it's not like something that I would be like, oh, check me out, like I'm going to brag about this. But I think that track I literally did in one take. And you can kind of hear it in my voice. I was a little bit nervous. We just kind of let it happen the way that it did. And I think, it was authentic and true to me at the time. So we did it that way. And I was happy with it. East Bay is the first, East Bay Deli in Charleston. Shout out East Bay Deli. That's the canvas, I think, for that song on Spotify, is their logo, because it's a cool, weird building too. And it's a really short roof with like cool glass windows.
And doing that, you took inspiration from Good Luck Farms. You know what I mean?
No kidding. I didn't even put two and two together on that. I like
naming
that.
Stuff after the local shops and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
And that's the kind of hometown shit that we're on here.
And Good Luck Farms is, if you know, you know. You know what I mean?
And shout out Good Luck Farms. Shout out 108 World. It's crazy because, that was the first place that I ate. And I remember going there with my girlfriend Elise, and it was a solid spot. And then I just became passionate from it. I think I visited her a month before I moved. That's what happened. And we went there, and I felt that passion, and I was just like, damn, and then I wrote the chorus before I ever knew that place existed. I had no idea what I was saying for a second. Sorry. That's how crazy it is that it's been 2 years since I moved to Charleston. I'm still trying to backtrack some memories in this episode, which I'm happy you're bringing out of me. But yeah, I had that chorus written before that. And I think I was just saying the word East Bay because I knew that I was literally still living on the East Coast, and that's what I meant. Fun fact, East Bay is a sub shop in Charleston. Another fun fact, Massachusetts is what? The Bay State. David Ryan has bars about it too. If you didn't know, then get educated. And so, that's really where a lot of the magic started. Being in the studio with them, being in the studio with Yusuf, with Amir Max. Kava did Honorable with us. Really, really fun track that really, I think that was the track that made me feel like a lot more confident, because then I was collaborating with, great artists in my community that became my friends. And, I couldn't ask for more in that sense. And, again, being here is part of that experience too. And wanted to also thank Mike Scarfo as well, Airway Studios. And, this is the real deal here. So
it really is.
Appreciate you.
That's why, I've said this 1,000 times before. There was no better place for Say That Podcast to come back than in AOA Studios.
And we are happy that Say That made a comeback, man. Y'all need to tune in. Tune in.
Exactly. They're going to be tuning in this episode. But the one thing that I think is cool about Reinventing the Wheel, and really all of your music, is you utilize your community a lot. And not only, and as you were saying, your artists that became friends, it's evident on a lot of the tracks on Reinventing the Wheel. Like Peninsula with Jeff, 91, 92.
Yep.
2 of my favorite tracks.
Thank you, man.
You build this chemistry with a lot of these artists that I feel like a lot of people don't do. I feel like when artists get in the booth, it's more for work. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, go home, see you later. But you actually have memories and conversations with a lot of the artists on the album. So Why was it important for you to, reinvent your wheel, but also feature the friends in your community that you made along the way?
Yeah, I mean, and I've continued on that journey. I think that's why, like, it's hard because there's a lot of people I want to show love on a daily basis. And in my mind, like, I even have these...
Real quick, those Instagram stories are miles long, and I love it. You're literally, you're tagging any single person.
Some people hate it, some love it.
Listen, fuck anyone who hates it. You know what I'm saying? The world needs more of that.
Appreciate you, man. I try to do it genuinely because, I'm a fan first as well. And I think the real ones know that this is going to be something specific too, that some people may not know about me, whether they're from here or Charleston, is that I'm a fan first because it's easier. Because of my experience as an artist at a young age.
Very good take.
And I'm not claiming that I was like at a level that was amazing, but being able to pick up on things from different people when I was young allows me to understand a mass amount of people and what they do well and how I can voice that to other people and them. And not only that, but it was because of my young age collaboration. Right. I mean, that's what it comes down to, like, bottom line. And, like I'll say I'm a fan first, but again, it's because of artistry. So that's also my way of saying, like, hey, for those that don't, like, always maybe take my music seriously, I'm coming with new stuff.
Exactly.
So.
And speaking of new stuff, Tiggy Talk is dropping this month, where this episode's going to drop in January. What's the exact date of Tiggy Talk?
Tiggy Talk, January 26th.
January 26th.
All platforms.
Be on the lookout. I'm pretty sure this episode will be out before then. But, so you mentioned moving to Charleston, and obviously you being literally a born and bred Massachusetts man, I can tell it any which way of the word. That was a big step for you. You know what I'm saying? Especially leaving your, lifelong home, you're leaving all your friends, kind of starting anew.
For sure.
But since then, and I've seen this, on your Instagram, because I got to keep track of Tiggy, you're booming in that scene, my friend.
The scene is booming.
Like,
is the best way to put it.
I don't know a lot about Charleston music, but for my money, you're kind of like making it this big grand EOS thing. And I think what's cool about that is you're kind of taking every lesson you learned up here and applying it down there in the same way. So in the sense of using your community, in the sense of, connecting with people, having all these awesome memories and conversations. So how is it down there in terms of music like that? It's because you have performed many times down there.
Yes, sir. And I think that's the beauty of it is when you say the word Charleston, like, people, they have this image of music and arts. They have this image of, like, just pure creativity. And when you're from a smaller market city, or you're in a smaller market city that's still progressing in a certain way and doesn't have high market sports, for professional teams, you got the River Dogs, which is fantastic, 3,000 person ballpark, single A Carolina League, low A single A team.
Who is their major league affiliate?
That is Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa Bay Rays,
yep.
Right.
So that's a little dicey. But,
fuck Wander Franco. But anyways, yes, go ahead.
The Rays were honestly nasty this year. The River Dogs were champions for a reason.
Hey, there you go.
In single A. But it's crazy because, and then the Charleston Cougars have been phenomenal. Their College of Charleston's basketball team, they play at TD Arena.
Oh, so now we're
shout out TD Arena, shout out TD Garden.
We're switching up the TDs now.
I mean, like, that's
I'd rather play in a garden, but
I mean, yeah, but it's
arena ain't that bad.
A small home away from home on a college level is dope.
Right,
but,
exactly.
All in good fun there. But I guess when you're in a city like that, and even high level concerts, they sometimes don't have certain venues to accommodate certain people, and there'll be shows in Charlotte, for example, right? And
so they couldn't get like a Taylor Swift. It would have to be in Charlotte.
Probably not. Right. And who knows what the future holds. But there's also a place in Daniel Island, which is like 13,000, I think, and then North Charleston Coliseum. So there's some spots. North Charleston Coliseum also houses the Stingrays, which is Washington Capitals minor league hockey.
Damn, you've only been here for 2 years. I feel like you've been down there your whole life.
You learn things quick, man. In a small peninsula, there's only so many places you can go and drive and go. And it's a lot of what you need in a small space. But again, on a local level, music accelerates. The gas pedal is on at all times. Anytime you didn't even hear about a flyer, someone might be getting paid for a show down the street, and someone you might know, or someone that played with so-and-so that's played for 4 other people for the last 16 years. Those are the, maybe rock and roll guys, some jazz guys, some folk guys, Americana music guys. Then you got the hip hop scene, which is blazing a huge trail. I mean, you have people like Indie Gold from Extra Chill. You have people like Ben Beam, Charleston Underground, Unheard Entertainment. Mooncat Daddy's been, a new musician, rapper, composer from DC that's moved to Charleston. I mean, there's DJ Dollar Menu's been one of the hottest DJs in the city. Some people don't, and I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. Some people might not even know he raps. He's one of the best rappers in the city. I mean, a lot of people do. And there's a lot of different people that have so many skills that aren't just one thing that they can show you. I will say this. I think that the social culture is a little bit different.
Well, real quick, don't say this, but I do get you.
Say that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
But as you were.
You just might not always know, details in a small community. You might not expect certain things or certain people to be associated with other people. And I think that's where you should never underestimate somebody in a place, in a music space, doing different arts. Like, that's an important thing to know what people are capable of, and that everyone's different, and that people are going to do different things, and that's okay. And there's no right or wrong. You know what I mean? So,
right.
It's special.
Well, listen, I absolutely love all of it. Like I said, I feel like I'm in the Charleston scene every time you post something.
Appreciate
so you know what I mean. But back to what you said earlier, the November 2021 show. Was that the show in Bridgewater that I co-hosted?
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Because it was, Amir was there, Jeff and Dave
That
were
was
on
at
the bill.
A&S Studios.
Yep.
Bars Over Bars, A&S Studios. Yep.
Neek Rose was also there. So, wow.
Yep.
That's kind of
First
cool.
time I met Neek.
That's kind of cool to be part
Shout
of
out
like
Neek
your,
Rose.
Your kind of like taking off moment there, yeah.
Bro, I mean, you guys hosted another event. I remember.
We've done 6 with Bars Over Bars.
Yeah,
6. Yeah, we've done 6.
Well, that makes sense because November of 2021, that was at A&S Studios that night.
Yep.
And then I think one of the next shows was early December of 22, and it was at the Jungle.
Oh, February 22.
Nope, that was that wasn't that was the 108 show you're thinking of.
Yes,
because I remember those few months very vividly now, because that December show was like Bugsy.
Oh, December 2020. Yeah. That was the
Zay,
first ever
Max.
I'll say that.
I think.
I'll say that show where
Yusuf was still really young.
Literally every person on the bill had been on the platform before, so that's why I'm glad I want to do that. And we're probably going to do another one soon. So
Hell yeah.
That's why I'm like, I got to get TJ on, so that way it makes sense. But anyways.
Appreciate you.
But yeah, that's what's up, though.
If y'all ever hear me talk about, while we're talking community, like if y'all ever hear me say like repeat or repeat supreme, that has to do with that t-shirt and that face right there.
This man christened me this nickname, like literally.
Repeat supreme.
Yeah,
baby.
I've heard Hero say it a couple of times too. I'm like, wow.
Even
like,
shout out D. Even D's played around with it in some bars too.
Exactly. I haven't heard it. Hold on a second.
For fun.
I need to hear that. I need to hear that.
It might have been an unreleased.
Some unreleased. Send that to me, because that's Speaking of unreleased shit, now that there's people in the room, I love when my friends send me unreleased shit. I feel like it is the best feeling in the world. If you don't make music and your friends do, and they send you their unreleased stuff, pump it religiously, it becomes like almost like you need it on your playlist. That's why it's like you need them to drop that so you can add it to your Apple or Spotify playlist, because that's how good it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
always love that as a consumer too. Like, I like hearing unreleased stuff. I also like the suspense. You know what I mean? It's either way. I mean, you're getting something new from the people that you love to listen to, and if that's something that's important to you, then it'll help you be better. It'll help you become better.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think another thing that's important about reinventing the wheel is the vulnerability you showed on it, especially with
a lot of it.
One of my favorite and most beautifully done tracks, If Heaven Had a Phone. I think I think that's a very important story, and I also think it's a very important message to hear and get across. And it also expresses both you and David's, vulnerability to talk about how, some bad past experiences have shaped you into the men today. So,
True.
Is that something that, we can expect more of? Because, you do have If Heaven Had a Phone, but also, you have East Bay. You got the Montes Meatballs interlude.
Yep.
I got dropping tracks like An Ocean Wave and Foley Beach. So I feel like when I listen to your music, I feel like I'm like almost experiencing your life through your own voice.
A lot of Reinventing the Wheel was literally, that's me saying, hey, I'm reinventing the wheel on music for myself, and I'm giving a lot of different looks, and I'm going to see what people gravitate towards, but I think there will be something for everybody here. So I think the word reinventing the wheel provides like enough ambiguity to most people for them to think, well, what does he mean exactly? Like, is he saying he's changing the game forever?
Yeah.
Is he saying that he's doing it for himself? Does he, what's he mean?
LeBron Pettiglio is here to change the game.
It is kind of ambiguous in a good way. Music provides ambiguity in a healthy way. I think titles that have pictures that paint 1,000 words are very important. But one thing that is even more important is to know why you're doing it for yourself. But once I kind of thought about it more, I think I really realized like it has a lot to do with like I'm reinventing kind of like a hip hop project that some people might not either expect, or the styles of sounds that I put together consecutively might not be something people are used to hearing all the time. Mm-hmm. And the amount of tracks that I was giving them, I just knew that I needed to pump. My focus was to pump out work. I knew I was inspired. I knew I came to a new place for the first time, and I knew that was going to be an advantage for me. But the vulnerability came from having one foot in the door of Massachusetts and one foot out. And I think sometimes I still really have that on my mind, in the sense that there's a lot of things that I can't get in Charleston from my home, like family, food, culture, and plenty of other things. But there's a lot of things that I can't get here that I can get in Charleston. And I think that's another part of what reinventing the wheel really is, without me thinking about it too much or thinking about it then. But making sense of it now, like it really shows that, I've evolved. But trying to bring back music into my life was the most important thing about that title, for sure. If you were going to ask me what's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And
that was my next question. So yes, I'm glad you answered that. Yeah.
Appreciate
guys, one step ahead of me. Come on. Am I giving the interview? You know what I mean at this point?
Buddy, I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
This man's. So, what does 2024 hold for the Microphone Madone? I know you got Tiggy Talk coming out, but that's an EP. So it's not a full-length album. I'm actually requesting another album out of you, so I kind of need that. So, what is the rest of the year? Or should the rest of the year? We just started in friggin' January. What is 2024 looking for the Microphone Madone?
Well, if you're pushing for it, buddy, then we should do another album. I like that idea. I appreciate the challenge, because I've been kind of in that limbo where, I'm thinking a lot about what I've been working on. Got some tracks cooking with 108. Separately as well as together. So that dynamic. We're still in the ballpark. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more music with them whenever I can as well. And I think at this point we've really built that chemistry. I'd like to work more with Amir as well again, because he's somebody that I've really drawn a lot of inspiration from, and he's somebody that foundationally has just helped me to understand a lot of little things that I didn't think about. And Max, man, he really lays down a lot of ground rules, and he gets his point across pretty well with not a lot of languge, something I'm not very good at.
Absolutely great artist.
But he always would give me advice about reinventing the wheel, basically being like, you think this is fun, and it's going to be, but this is not as easy as you might have hoped when you have all these features and getting this project finalized. And once you get to the mixing and mastering stages, and he was honest with me. Yeah, of course. And he was like, bro, trust me, it doesn't matter the amount of tracks too, but that's an important factor nonetheless. And, he would kind of just, put some things in my ear that really kind of helped me to remind myself to take a deep breath and get out the project the way I wanted. Nick Lovin helped me a lot with that project as well. But again, focusing on 2024, I think, having the ability to release more singles is something that the Microphone Madone needs to do. So that's on the radar. I like doing the single and then, the single for a project type of thing, but I'm definitely going to be doing individual singles more too. And I have a collection of stuff that some might fit well in an album. So I'm kind of working on like how I want to distribute these new tracks and what have you. But right now, there'll definitely be something. The Madone mic check two-pack is 2 different beats with the exact same lyrics and language. So there's a version 1 and 2. So that'll definitely be like a 2-pack that I'll be dropping.
Damn, you gotta learn Italian, bro. You gotta start dropping a song in
I use
the
a couple
language.
words here and there, but like other than like formaggio al pistachio or fratello, there's a lot that I don't know. So that's where the Madonesmanship comes in.
I think I could teach you because my mom's fluent in Italian.
American, I need to get
I'm
cultured.
still kind of pissed she never like spoke Italian around me growing up. Because like she was like, just go to school and learn. I'm like, I don't want to go to school and learn. Just freaking teach me. God damn it, teach me. Dude. But that's another thing, dude. You are a proud Italian man. You know what I'm saying?
Try, man.
We live from Umberto's Galleria. When I heard that as a North End resident, well, a former one, but that's where I spend all of my time. I'm like, this man's doing it. This man's dropping North End
coming
reference.
From you, man. That's very authentic.
Because nobody does that, and I'm like, they need to do that.
It's just
like,
what came to mind. Like I wanted a little intro. I like doing a little intros in my tracks. Sometimes it helps my energy in the booth because I really have been focusing on like when I'm in the studio, like I like to perform. You know what I mean? I'm really performing. I'm focusing on my performance, and that's something that helps that animation and bring it to life. Yeah. So I do try to do that as much as I can, and I think that's part of the character of who I am, but it's also like, what I can showcase in a fun, silly way, but also like a serious way. And I think people get it about me, and the people from here get it easier. And the way I can authentically show it as well as kind of market it in Charleston shows that like, it's who the fuck I am. And it might be exciting to people that didn't grow up around it, hopefully just as much as it is to the people that did. And, that I leave that up to them, and I just be myself really at the end of the day.
Now, I gotta ask, what's your go-to order at Umberto's?
Shit.
It's gotta include an arancini. You gotta get an arancini.
Well, what I was gonna say is I've had them a few times, but those things are the size of a cranium.
Right.
Those aren't golf balls.
It's like this. It's like almost a big snowball.
It's a lacrosse ball.
Throw it at somebody, it's gonna hurt.
Those could wound somebody.
Right.
Those are good. I prefer Chini's if I'm getting my arancinis, the golf balls.
Right.
Shout out Joe over at Chini's. I got the Chini's merch as well.
And every time I go to the dispensary over there, Ascend.
Ascend's right there.
I'm like, this fucking TJ. Like, I literally, it's like, because I have friends who like Chini's, but it's like, I know that
flattered.
Like, not that you made it your whole personality, but like, you just love it a lot.
I rock the shit out of that shirt.
Hey, Madone. When I'm like that, yeah.
It's, that's a place that is, just really authentic. I mean, it's an orange pizza window.
Right.
There's
only 2 seats in there.
Yeah, and there's probably 10. There's like 14 inches from the door.
Right.
To the
it's
oven.
a tiny place.
Yeah.
But you know what? Now that it's next to a dispensary and like 4 bars, they nailed that location.
Hell yeah.
Nailed it.
Hell yeah.
Because if you're high or you're drunk, you're going to be like, all right, what sounds good to eat? You're stumbling out of the greatest bar. Genie's right there. They got pizza.
You're
they got
stumbling out of the
calzones. You know what I mean? Because that is the greatest bar.
That's
right
exactly
there.
the picture that's painted.
Yeah.
Shout out to the people that understand this, because there is so much truth to that. And and make sure it is the greatest bar, because there's like 3 floors in there, dude. You're gonna fall down the staircase on your way out.
I've never been. I've never
crazy.
Been to the greatest bar.
If you ever go in,
I've never been.
If you ever go during like a Bruins game, dude, just
that's
imagine,
when I gotta go.
It's packed and people are fucking watching. You can't. Yeah, you really can't move.
Which is like so
dope.
wild, because I always think, I'm like, there's like a bunch of places in Boston where I just walk by and I'm like, I just haven't been in there. Like, why?
I can't tell you how many. Yeah, that's happened to me. Or now it's gone for 2 years. I turn around and I said, holy shit. What's that?
Yeah.
That's new. Or there's a Raising Cane's there? Put on a pair of
Don't
binoculars.
get me started on Raising Cane's. Come on, man.
Sheesh. Come on.
Because there's one on Newberry Street now, and that's a little too close for my comfort.
There's one
where
there
I'm
too.
like,
That's what I mean. Second location.
Dude,
already
you
open.
want
Heard it
speaking
from
of
this
fried
guy.
chicken on Newberry Street? There's one block's got Chick-fil-A, the next one's got Raising Cane's. So
true,
it's
and
like
then-
make your freaking choice.
Nuts. When
Yeah.
that Copley
I can't
Chick-fil-A
I
opened,
can't
though.
go on jaywalks down there anymore. Well, I should say smoke walks. I do jaywalk in the city of Boston.
Jaywalking
Because
is gay.
who doesn't? Okay, here's the thing. If you live in the city of Boston, jaywalking is literally like common practice.
You kinda
it's
have
a
to do
sport.
it.
And I love it how like I was just in
survival
New
reasons.
Orleans too, and a lot of advice I get is like, oh, don't jaywalk in these other cities. Still do it. Jaywalk in New York, jaywalk in New Orleans, jaywalk in freaking like Miami. Who cares? It's a sport. Like, what are they gonna do? Give me a spanking or something? Get the fuck out of here! Come on, man. See you later with that. But yeah, I can't go take a nice rolled stogie and freaking go scroll down there because I'm gonna end up in one of those places. It's like, we took a walk down there.
Yep.
I took you for freaking mochi donuts.
Yeah,
and
we
I'm
should.
like,
Dude, we smoked and ate mochi donuts. My girlfriend would love those.
Yeah.
Mochi donuts. About, 25 minutes before most people eat dinner?
yes,
That could have been a sin in our culture.
Yeah, 100%.
We did
But
it.
now
We
we're
did
grown
it
men,
anyway.
where it's like
We did it anyway.
That's you know what I mean.
That's
It's
just
like,
the
hey,
fact
what do you
that we
do?
did that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And you made it a point. That was the best thing. We're sitting here eating mochi donuts, and this kid's like, Madone, it's before dinner. Like, you got to have the pasta first. And I'm like, I'm a grown man.
But once
do
you
what I
feel the
want.
texture in those mochi donuts, you sink into those,
Yeah. Newberry Street's a dangerous place
Yeah.
if you're high.
becomes more
And I don't
dangerous.
mean that in like a bad way. I mean that in like you're going to spend like $200 on food way.
Money crimes,
Right.
yeah, like by spending.
Yeah.
Crazy good kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yo, he don't got his mic on, but I hope the camera picked that up. Mike Scarfo just name dropped Crazy Good Kitchen. The Sanchez would go nuts for that because we have been in there at least 3 different times. Yeah, 100%. I mean, the first one, I had learned about it from, because I live right near the Malden line, and it's right there, that little side street. It's literally, it's if you pass it, you miss it, you got to turn back around because it's literally this like almost like trailer.
yeah.
And right,
It's the size
it's
of
literally
Chini.
the size of Chini.
Unreal.
Yes, exactly. The original
Shout
was
out
the original
Chini's for
size of
operating a
Chini's.
business that small. It's unbelievable the amount
Right.
of things they do in that business. It's crazy.
But Crazy Good Kitchen, I think, was meant for stoners because they literally have every concoction on the menu that you can think of. Whether it's the shakes, which are like $15, but they're absolutely worth it, or the freaking loaded fries and dinners and this steak and cheese with this much shit on it, that steak and cheese, the other shit. And now they're in Miami. I'm going back to
kidding.
Miami at the end of the month.
Saying
So
a
I'm
lot.
like, I gotta like, crawl around there and see what the word is there. But
Saying a lot.
yeah, Newberry Street is a very, very dangerous spot.
Speaking
if
of
you-
Miami, shout out Jay. You could find a lot out. 96 hours in Miami.
You
You can
kidding
do
me?
a lot.
I'm only
eat a
gonna
lot
be
of
in
places,
for 72. So I'm gonna be about 24 short. So, you know what I mean?
too. It's actually written 96 hours.
But yeah,
Yo,
and you know that as being Italians, what the fuck we eat? We
Yeah.
cook and we eat.
it's true.
So
It's
I
true.
need to know, what are your favorite Italian specific spots in the city of Boston?
Absolutely, would love to. And sorry, I just realized I didn't answer the question, though. What I was going to say is 2 slices of Sicilian. That's my order from Umberto's.
All right. Hey, listen, you gotta
straight
incorporate
up.
a potato and an arancini, and also you gotta get that.
I'm gonna
cheese
in the summer when I
calzone
come
in there,
back.
my man. I really don't even get pizza. I'm gonna be honest with you. As weird as that is, I just get the arancini and the spinach and cheese calzone. That's it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
I'm
that.
weird- I'm
I feel
weird
like there's
like that.
something else I'm forgetting on their menu, though, now that I say that.
Nah, they just
But
got.
I think
like,
it's just that I get 2 slices. Yeah.
yeah. And you know what? As a kid, I'm a strange individual. As a child, so you know how like the cheese is really melted on
Yeah.
top, and like you can almost bite it and you peel it back.
It's piping hot. They come out.
As a kid, I would take the cheese off the pizza and literally like eat it separately from like the dough.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
And nobody else and everyone in my community center is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
It's some people just like cheese.
"I
that
like the
much,
dough
too.
first." Like, you know what I mean? It's like, "Hey, what are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
But
Facts.
I need other than Chini's and Umberto's, because we already
10-4,
name dropped those.
10-4. Yep.
What are your favorite Italian
Wow.
joints in the city? Give me 3 of them.
Jesus. Can I go North Shore, or do I have to stay in Boston? You want me to stay
Yeah,
in
you
Boston?
know what? Let's go North Shore. Let's
Go North Shore,
Let's
okay.
go North Shore and
Makes
Boston.
it
Let's
a
include
little
that.
easier.
Yeah.
No, and so here's the deal. Pino's Pizza in Brighton, Massachusetts. I was born in Everett, Massachusetts on my birth certificate. I lived in Brighton, Massachusetts till the age of 3. All right. So if you ever hear me talking about the 02135 or Brighton, Massachusetts in my rhymes, that's where that's from. Shout out my cousin James Roberto. I like to call him the real Madone because he is. And no disrespect to you. If you met the mammoth, you'd understand.
I probably would. He's going to call up with a freaking like, hey.
That's my cousin. That's the guy.
Yeah.
He is amazing. He lives right around the corner from Pino's Pizza. My father, I grew up going there. My father used to take me there till the age of 10, but I had been going there since, probably 5.
Wow.
And Pino's Pizza has probably the best pie, in my opinion, in Massachusetts. The chicken parm subs, the steak and cheeses, and the steak quality is not even like phenomenal. It's just something about it. It's unbelievable. It's very OG. The pastas, the salads are served massive. They put the pepperoncini in. It's the real deal. That place is unbelievable. So I got to throw Pino's the gold star there. So sticking around a bit in the city. Well, it's funny, the chicken parm from O'Hara's pub in Newton Highlands is actually phenomenal. Underrated. Because it's an Irish pub. It's an Irish pub.
Wow.
No, it just came to mind because I was surfing around in my mind for a second. Yeah. But there's
that's unexpected. I would never thought an Irish pub to serve chicken parm.
Bro.
I mean, it's not a hard dish,
it's really
but like
good. They do homemade pasta there too. It's like one of those bars that's like you should eat the food, otherwise you're sleeping on it because it's really good.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Italian food too, I like limoncello in the North End a lot.
Okay. Right
good
downstairs from Baker's Alley. Okay.
Sir,
literally, my friend lives up in those apartments, so I walk by it every time. And
is it on North Street? It's on North Street, right?
It's right across,
Shout out,
couple
that's
doors
Paul
down
Revere's
from Paul Revere's house,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I think it's funny because, so where the entrance to limoncello is, you know that alleyway?
Yeah.
So when there's outdoor dining, that whole patio becomes like where they serve dinner and shit like that. Right. And 99% of the times I'm going up my friend's house to drink and watch sports.
Yeah.
So I got to cut through that alley with, beer in my hand. If not, I already cracked one. And if you swing the door open too much, you might hit the people sitting there because the door's right here and there's a table right here.
That's nuts.
And somebody's back is to the door. So I'm always like, I don't know my own straights. It's 99% of the time I'm swinging over like, oh shit. I'm like, I'm going to crack this dude in the back of the head with a glass door while he's eating spaghetti and meatballs. You know what I mean? So I think I'm glad you mentioned limoncellos because that's probably the funniest thing about what it does.
Just kind of like deeper back there, and isn't it kind of towards the Commercial Street side?
Yeah. So like it's literally a street next to it. Yeah,
and it's fire.
I was glad you didn't name drop any North End places up until that point. So I was like,
well, I was about to say also Parziali's Bakery in the North End, according to what I last remember.
Didn't say Bova's,
but buddy,
man. See, this
is
how
you
you know he's the real Italian because my grandmother's house is literally on that street. It's Prince Street. It's literally 10 doors down. And that was her bakery. You know what I mean? It wasn't Bova's.
They say 113 years. That's what the lady told me. Their family has been
as OG gets.
In North America.
Yes.
That in North America, like
Bova's
not
gets
just
all the
Boston
fame.
On. Yeah.
Pazziali's deserves all the respect. That's what I think. You know what I'm saying?
I think they put a little
olive oil on those
slices.
If they was open 24 hours like Bova's, they would have got the same respect. You know what I'm saying? And I like Bova's, you know what I'm saying? But give me Pazziali's any day of the fucking week.
And that's the thing. And their pizza's just
the butter cookies too. You know what I'm saying?
Their pastries are excellent, and they have one of those. Hey, the menu's not too big, but we have just enough of what people want, and it's gas. That's the way you want to be. That's the way you want to be.
Mike's are modern. I need your North End take.
Oh.
So Jeff Porter just asked me, Mike's are modern, bro. Modern. Any day of the week. And you exactly.
Facts.
Tourists say Mike's. The residents say modern. And here's the difference. My mom worked there when she was 15 years old, I believe. So she knows that family. It's a great family. The son Gianni's a good chef now, too. He's well on his way to become one of the best chefs ever. Modern makes all of their stuff fresh. Mm-hmm. Mike's doesn't. Mm-hmm. Because if you've noticed, Mike's has now a location in TD Garden in the Hub Hall.
Oh, yeah, true. That's in Hub Hall.
They have one in Assembly Square.
Somerville, yeah.
And they have one more. I think they're up to 3. And you may have noticed that for some reason they just dropped a beer like not too long ago. A cannoli, literally it's called a cannoli flavored beer.
Really?
I couldn't even be bothered to try it because I'm like,
Jesus.
yeah, nah, I'm all set with that. Like, I'm all set with that. Same way Dunkin's
worse
dropping
than a
like
coffee stuff.
hard coffee and like spiked iced tea. Like, I'm all set with that. Like, now we're getting nuts.
Yeah, Bojangles has
But-
a hard tea in the South. It's nuts. They serve it at mad liquor stores. It's like
insane.
32-ounce cans. Wait, that's not a twisted tea.
Right.
It's literally
Right.
Can you imagine?
And Jeff Ford just brought up a
Sugar
good
headache.
point. Modern Pastry, the OG place now has a bar downstairs. It's a big bar. I haven't been down there yet, but because it's like anytime you're in there, you're like, all right, what pastries am I getting? And then you turn the corner, I'm like, oh, there's a bar down there. Modern Underground, right? Special martinis on deck.
This guy.
So, any Bostonian who's from here, not just from here temporarily, not just going to college, living in the seaport off mommy and daddy's money, will tell you that it's modern over Mike's any day of the week. But being
100%,
from the North End,
100%.
I know my family knows both families of that, so they're good people anyways. However, if I'm picking food, I'm going.
Yeah, I
modern
feel like
pastry.
Mike's just is because of the tourism and level of like what the establishment and the business is, especially the the North End.
Oh, of course.
It's a little like, and I don't mean this like, too negatively, but it's like it's less clean. I feel like in there, it's just like you can tell
It gets.
it's been
They
around.
don't.
It's classic.
The
but-
lines are tough because
Remember,
literally
you're eating
everybody
food
just
there.
piles in
Yeah.
to the front.
Yeah.
But what's also funny about that is when you're walking down Hanover, Modern's the first place you pass before you get to
Of course, locations.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's literally right there. Like as soon as you pass the Tony
Mm-hmm.
DeMarco statue, it's right there. So, and obviously me working in the tourist
Shout out
trap
Tony
that I
DeMarco.
do work in, everyone's like Modern or Mike's. I'm like, dude, go to Modern. Even if they're like, oh, I'm about to go to Mike's Pastry, I'm like, go to Modern.
Real briefly,
Go to Modern.
you brought
know
up
what I mean?
Tony DeMarco, and no, I thoroughly agree with that. Modern,
Yeah.
100%. You brought up Tony DeMarco, 2019 at the Fisherman's Feast, not St. Anthony's. You know the drinking clubs during the feasts,
Yeah.
where they have the patio out and the small white
Yeah, of
pickets
course,
that they put up.
of
Yeah,
course.
so people are chilling in there, and I'm hanging like, right in there, and there's a lady hanging right outside of there, like because she's smoking a cigarette, so she wasn't on the inside. I made some joke. I was with one of my buddies, and I turned around and she like laughed and said something, and I said, how you doing? Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, you might know my husband. I said, who's your husband? And she said, oh, Tony DeMarco. And I was like, wait a minute. You mean we're on Tony DeMarco Way right now on Fleet Street for the Fisherman's Feast? I was like, your husband's name is the street. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, wait, you mean the statue, the one out front? She goes, yeah, he was a boxer. And I was like, oh, I know. And I literally turned around and she's like, this is him right here. The guy's 93 years old. They proceed to tell me that he lives in those that like stone building. It's like a high-rise tower.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk away from TD Garden in the West End,
yeah.
bro, right in the West End. Like he lives in that giant building when you're heading like Viva Burrito over there. I don't know if you know where that is.
I know exactly
that place
where
is
that
really
is.
good. Shout
Yeah.
out Viva Burrito. Wow,
Yeah,
I
my
used to go
doctor's
there at
right
work
there.
all the time.
My doctor's office
Hell yeah,
right
it's
there,
right near
yeah.
Mass General. Yeah. And dude, I was like, holy shit. So I took a picture with the guy with the fist, and everything. Guy was like super sharp, 93 years old. I think he passed a couple years
did.
ago. I looked it up a couple months ago because I was
think it
telling the
was
story.
2022 he passed.
Yeah, man, what a shame. There's a statue of him in the North End. If you guys do not know who that man is, that was Tony DeMarco, a famous boxer from Boston, Massachusetts.
Specifically the North End.
One of the nicest guys, tiny, tough, amazing. Really cool little story that I have from. That's my favorite story ever from one of the feasts. So
Now, answer this one wisely. What's your favorite feast?
St. Anthony's.
There you go. You got it right. Like I said, I can't lift it up all
Otherwise-
the way, but I have a tat of saying that was my first tat of
Oh, I
Saint
thought you were
Anthony
going to
right
be ready to clock me if
there.
I got that
hell
wrong.
no. It's like, put 'em up, man. Why you wanna straight to the moon, TJ. But no, my dad's been a member of St. Anthony's club for a while, and it's just cool. Like I went to Italy. Actually, my first time in Italy
No kidding.
was for St. Anthony, and the specific reason was in 2019 it was the 100-year anniversary. So we started off in 2018 by taking a 10-day trip to Italy. It was either 10 days or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But the whole point of it was we went to St. Anthony's grave in Padua. That was nuts.
No kidding.
We went to Montefiore, and a bunch of us, including myself, carried the saint in Montefiore. And I think
Unbelievable.
that's probably like a top 3 like travel moment for me.
100%.
Just because of being like literally in the mountains and foothills of Italy, this like small ass town. You know, I saw my last name in a church. You know, and I don't even think I'm related to the dudes, but everyone kept saying, "Oh, Luongo is like a mix of like Asian and Chinese." I'm like, no, now that I have proof that it's full-blooded Italian, because it's in a church in damn Italy, now you can't tell me shit.
Well, it's funny. You and I both kind of have more rare Italian last names, and I'm assuming Southern Italian roots for you too.
Yeah, my grandmother's from Sicily on my mom's side, and then there you go. Shout out Mike. Scarfo.
Yes, indeed.
My grandfather's just from outside Rome, but yeah, all my family originates in Italy, so it's like
and for me too, Calabrian and Sicilian.
There you go. Attaboy.
So
that's rich blood right
100%.
That's
you know
thick
what time
Italian
it is.
blood.
You know what time it is.
But you mentioned that Umberto's is gas.
Umberto's is.
And I'm sure you've heard of a little segment we got called Gas, Bass, or Mass and Cass.
Yes.
So, my first question in this is the Italian food scene in Charleston. Is it gas? Is it bass? Or is it Mass and Cass?
Second one was Brandon Bass, right?
Yes.
You said? Yep.
Which is like kind
I
of
was making sure I understood.
It's just decent, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Middle of the road. Yep.
Right.
Okay. This is a tough thing to answer because, I mean, I guess the easy answer would be Bass, but there are 5 or 6 spots that are really phenomenal, and Charleston is a top 10 foodie city in the U.S.
Is it really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
For that specified food, and like, you know, there were some places I didn't mention too, like in the North Shore, like Marina's in Wakefield or Monty's in Lynn. I just went there an hour ago with Jeff Porter. It's unbelievable. It was my second time there.
Monte's meatballs.
Last year. Their meatballs, their pies, unbelievable. Like, I mean, there's so many places on the North Shore.
Right.
D'Agostino's Deli in Winchester, even, that's a sleeper.
Yeah,
but
we could go on
anyway,
and on.
you know, things like that. The mom and pop type energy is not in Charleston with the level of immigration that influences that type of food.
Okay.
And until you've lived here or been here enough, you're not going to really grasp that or taste that yet. But there's 5 spots in Charleston that are like really dope, and like a couple I can name, like Le Farfalle, downtown Charleston. You know, you get tablecloth, a nice experience. Solid pastas. Pizzeria Di Giovanni, I think that's all I need to say for the people in this room to understand.
Yeah, no,
that
I'm already sold.
They're legit. That's the 3 a.m. pizza late night spot. The guys in there are goofballs. They're so funny. There's the amount of drunk people that come in there from Henry's next door is just outrageous. But that's what makes the city special.
Right.
And it's right near the Charleston City Market. So it's another like kind of tourist area. It's kind of like going to like a pizza joint right outside of Faneuil here. It's similar concept. That market is straight.
I totally get that.
Walk through
anytime anybody says the word market, I understand what they mean. Yeah. Exactly.
It's Bass.
Hey, market. You say it's
Hell yeah.
Bass?
And it's Bass. Yeah.
That's, so it could be improved, but it's Bass.
Yes, sir. But the overall food scene has other things to offer. And so don't sleep on that.
Word.
Yeah.
So for the second Gas, Bass, or Mass and Cass, a lot of people don't know about the Charleston scene until, we talked about in this episode. And a lot of people, are going to be introduced to you for the first time.
Hell yeah.
So the support you receive from the Charleston music scene, is it Gas, is it Bass, or Mass and Cass? And I say that, don't say this, but I say that because, Boston's kind of got that reputation of, is it hateful or it's supportive? And, you got cities like New York and LA where like, it's full of hate. So it's like, what is it like there down south nestled away in Charleston?
Yeah, and I mean, I think people get really excited by music and people who create. And they might even look at you in a way where they're excited by you and they're surprised and they're, welcoming. And they think, oh, man, what? Like sometimes they'll look at you and they don't underestimate any. They're just, wow, who is he? Or what kind of... they're once you let them know that you're on platforms, they're like, oh shit, And I think that's something, but like in a different way than you see here. Like people invest in it and they're, oh, let me know when you're going to be performing and I'm going to follow you. You're going to check it out. And they'll actually pull up on you. Like, or someone you see at that local spot. Like when I perform at Chico Feo in Folly Beach, it's like 10 feet from the water at like one of the most famous open mics that I've ever seen. And it's like, it's an organized show, but it's also considered an open mic. There's poets, there's comedians sometimes, and a lot of folk music, sometimes hip hop. So things like that, like people really are engaged and they'll come up to you without knowing you. They'll talk to you, you know, and I think that's a special thing in the community there too. You know, you see it intimately. And I think people, it's gas the way that people like care and the way that they interpret, and the appeal of that, you know, might not be for everybody. You're going to see people with chips on their shoulder. You're going to see people that might play nice to you, but you know, they could be trying to compete with you. I'm not that kind of guy. And I hope that people know that about me. And being a dude that comes from a city like Boston to a new community, people don't always know what to think about me, I think, because I'm still new. But there's not much to figure out. I pretty much lay it all out. And if you want to know something, you can always just talk to me. Right. And I think the real people know that. And people that, some people aren't like that in Charleston, but it doesn't mean that they don't want to talk to you, they don't care, or that they're bad people. That's why I say the social culture is different. We walk in and start busting balls with each other, and we might be louder.
Classic
we might
Italian
be
style. Come on, baby.
That's it. And part of its heritage, part of its culture, part of its like city culture, just state, you know. And I think it's not like that there, but there's a certain kind of friendliness that's shown in different ways because of what you're used to seeing and what you're brought up around. And it's really easy to understand that on paper. But until you've lived it, you might not know. And I think everybody should understand that you might not know what you're missing in that sense. But also, you should never forget about the roots of what made you and what makes you special. Charleston's a lot like Boston in that sense, where some people, oh man, you love it, yeah, you know, that it's really cool, man, in a lot of ways. But I wish that I wasn't here anymore. I wish I could get out of this place, man. I hate, you know, I've heard people say that to me, and I'm like, it hits home a little bit for me because I'm like, you know. To me, the Low Country is like one of the most beautiful places I've seen. But I also know,
soul, baby.
Yes, but I see how it could not be too, and I see how the government sometimes doesn't give a shit about people in South Carolina. I'll be honest, like some of them, they don't. Like, and it's, you know, it's important. Things are changing for sure, slowly but surely. I think in a city that's progressing too, and it's okay to understand that. But you know, people definitely feel similarly. They might hate certain reasons of living there, just like we might hate coastal living here, and for our own reasons. And it's just important to remember how much people can relate, especially like historically, like quite literally. Like, I don't mean to get too historical and shit, but it's like, I mean, you know, the 54th Massachusetts Regiment was
bringing history now.
Bringing black soldiers to the city of Charleston from Massachusetts.
Really?
And you know, Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War, and, you know, I mean, you know, outlawing slavery. And, you know, things that people don't realize, like Massachusetts, you know, and a lot of the Northeast has always, you know, rung that Liberty Bell, so to speak. And
yeah, from really,
I think people should understand that.
Like,
you know?
all of New England and up until, you know, Philadelphia, which is where, you know, they signed the Declaration. It's all like the I-95 is all, you know, the birthplace of liberty. Yeah. Hell, you know it better than I do. You know, where I work, they call it the Cradle of Liberty anyways. Friggin' upstairs in Faneuil Hall, they had all those four founding father meetings, forefathers. You know, so it's like, you're absolutely right. You know, you nailed it on the head there. And I think it's cool that, like, you had mentioned, you know, just come up and talk to me, dude. You know what I'm saying? Let's build a connection. Let's do that. Because I feel like
some people may be afraid. That's an artist thing too. You know, that's where it's like.
And the Boston scene, you know, we do have something to prove because we do get a lot of flack where it's like, oh, Boston has rappers. It's like, oh, who do you got to check in with? Mark Wahlberg or Benzino or this, that, and the other thing. So, you know, there is definitely a chip on the shoulder.
They sleep on the city for sure when it comes to music.
But I think towards the end of 2021 into now, it's changing with guys like Van Buren, Clark D, Key, just to name a few. So it's cool that it's Southern hospitality down there.
Yeah.
And anyone who's been down south can attest to that. It's not
that's
the
one thing.
grittiness of
Yeah, so like
Boston.
like in a small community, like you saying that opens up like a thought, whereas it's like there doesn't need to be one or two promotions or people throwing shows that control everything, because there's people that do band shows like, Sounds of Black Fox is a great independent rock band that records at 100 Watt Studios, where I do all of my work so far. And, they perform on bills with Tyree Young, who was nominated, that won 2022 Hip Hop Artist of the Year in Charleston and has been a huge influence in the community, building people up. Slim Soul, another one. I mean, he's been rapping in the city for years. Abstract the Rapper. Like, those are guys, I should have said those names earlier too, because those are really important people. Adrian Champagne runs sound and helps mediate and manage a lot of these things. I mean, these are people that like gave me my first shots. Ben Beam as well. Like, Indie Gold, like these guys are pioneers in this community, but they're also people that are great at artistry. They can perform. They understand that stuff, but they're not going to be mad about they want to pull up to, if Charleston Underground's throwing an event, you best believe that homies are going to be there as long as they can. And if there's a conflicting show on the same night, the scene's been so booming that can happen. When I first moved there, I didn't quite notice it as much, but in the last year and since the summer, it's just been busier. And I think, but it's important to be okay with that. And like, I think in the back of people's minds, sometimes it could be a little bit of a sore spot if something's going on twice in one night and something's going to interfere, but you'll get that shot again to go see a homie perform or be on a bill or, work an event instead of, being in the spotlight at it or what have you. Like, I'm going back home tomorrow and I'm going to help do the door at an event. And, I wish I could be up there for the open mic part, but if I'm not going to be upset.
You're contributing regardless.
Yeah.
You always got to make sure you're involved. And I like that.
It's one of the first places.
A lot of people here, are not particularly like that. They're, do you want to be on the bill? Either you want to be the main event of the bill, but it's good that you can be like, let me work the door, Yeah. Because either way, you're still there with people, you still build the friendship, and you're still
in the community.
Exactly. You're building community, and you're also contributing.
For sure.
That's what's up.
And then you'll be back up there again inevitably. It's like that's the way that people really operate, and I think that's important to see, and that's what makes that community strong. And I think it'd be easier here in certain ways if the livability and drivability was like a little easier. I wonder how that would be. I always have that like thought in my head, and like I love it here, but those things make it so much harder for us on these cold nights. And Real Ones make an effort, and that goes without saying. It's not about that. It's just if you felt it and experienced it, you'd know what I mean. But it's just a smaller peninsula with a little bit less space. Still a shit ton of cars on it. I gotta chill with that. Y'all boys have to figure something out. But it gets crazy a little bit with the cars on the road. Nothing compared to what we'd be used to seeing, so I'm not that surprised by it. But these things all, like, even with that, you can get to a lot of these places in a matter of minutes, and you're enjoying the night. You can drink. You can enjoy. And you don't have to do those things either. You could have a sober night. You could be having fun. A lot of time outdoors, outdoor events, shows in the spring or late fall or even the winter for outdoor events. Like Chico Feo, where I perform in Folly, is open year round. They do it every Monday night. So like,
wow, the weather's like that down there, huh?
Yeah, and it's been 37 degrees some days when you wake up, but it gets up to 55 on a day like today, and people really like that sun.
You know what messes me up about the South? And to get back to New Orleans, I was so underpacked and so underprepared. It was cold. Like, it was like Boston cold. It was like 40 degrees down there. I'm like, it's the South. Like, why is it like sunny like all the time? Like, why do I gotta wear a jacket in New Orleans? That don't make sense to me.
But how was that trip? You got a taste of like what that's.
I had Charleston. Alligator. I had duck. I had rabbit.
Shit.
You know what I mean?
You ate rabbit?
I had rabbit jambalaya, actually. It's delicious.
That's ballsy.
Yeah, I had the world famous beignets from Cafe du Monde.
Yep.
It's like I went to the Superdome.
And he said it right, ladies and gentlemen.
It just literally became like a top 3 city that I've been to, and I think that's so cool.
Hell yeah.
But,
Fire.
ladies and gentlemen, that's the Microphone Madone, DJ Pettiglio. Any parting words?
That's Repeat Supreme, God damn it. It has been truly an honor to be on this podcast. I mean, everyone knows we could go for hours, but nobody got time for that. Shout out to 108 World, Jeff Porter, David Ryan, Mike Scarfo, A&A, AOA, I'm sorry, Studios. Jesus, that was bad. And also Repeat Supreme and Say That podcast. Wanted to say that shout out Mike Sanchez as well. Wish he could have been here tonight. Missed that dude. Haven't seen him in a long time. Shout out Mike. I am also looking forward to Tiggy Talk coming out on January 26th, which is a Friday.
Go
coming
stream
up.
that. Make sure you
7
stream
new
that.
tracks
Set
for
your
y'all.
reminders.
Well, the interesting thing is track 8 is going to be kind of an outro talking track. So there's a lot of people to thank and a lot of reasons as to why I do what I do in the rap game. And I list a lot of them, if not every single one of them, in that track. It's like 4 minutes. So be sure to tune into that. Technically, it's 8 tracks, which makes it an album, but it ain't because the last one's not a full song. So it's 7 and it's an EP. And looking forward to having out a couple songs that I consider the Reinventing the Wheel, The Lost Files, which is 2 songs. They're both Boston collabs. One of them is Only Way Is Up, Nana D, with
I
Neek
heard that track
Rose.
before.
Yes, sir.
I'm
I
gonna
showed
say
you
it
that
right
in the
now.
summer.
I heard
Yep.
that.
Yes,
So-
sir. That's been a long time coming in the making. And so with Neek Rose, that'll be coming on Tiggy Talk, as well as Rap Attack 93, which was recorded in Andover, Mass. at Turnpike Studios with Louis Kyoto mixing and mastering, featuring Willie D and Sean Mikes.
Willie D. I love Willie D. Who
North
don't
Shore,
love
South
Willie
Shore.
D? I
Bro,
fucking love Willie D.
love Willie D. Sean Mikes, man.
I feel like Willie
you
D
know,
would be a good wrestler, but that's besides the point.
Sean Mikes also and I have known each other for quite some time. And, funny story for another day about how we met. But shout out Sean Mikes, man. I see you working and really excited we could get a track in together as well. So this will be a special one. And thank you again for having me on, man.
Of course.
Beverly,
like I
Mass.
said, maybe 4 different times. I'll say it 5 times. I needed you on here. You know what I mean? I needed the Madone on here.
I needed to come chop it up, man.
And ladies and gentlemen, and the good people of Say That, if you enjoy this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. It really helps us out. Please follow us both on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as our Instagram, say_that_pod. I know it's a mouthful, but for some reason, I can't change it because literally say.that.pod is taken, and the whole one word Say That podcast is taken. So I got to figure that out on Instagram. However, thank you everybody for tuning in. That's been the Microphone Madone, TJ Pettiglio. I appreciate it. And as always, don't say this.
Say that.
I need you to do it with me. And we will see you in the next episode. Peace.